Humanity might have achieved an unbelievable extent of advancement and control over the planet, but even today it's seemingly helpless before nature. Working in mysterious ways, nature makes sure to remind us who's the boss. And what better way to shake humanity's confidence than by introducing it to natural calamities like earthquakes, floods, climate change and landslides. Though landslides aren't a common occurrence worldwide, the ones with a few good mountains and rocky hills tend to suffer these slides frequently. Quite a few landslides have occurred in front of people, and miraculously no one was harmed. Although some of you might say, why the excitement, it's just rock falling. Wait until you see these 12 epic landslides, because we guarantee a few of these, if not all, will leave you astounded. Before we get started, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe and click the notification bell for more such amazing content. Number 12. Landslide of Tajikistan. Eastern Tajikistan is home to a few exceptional mountains. These mountains, however, usually remain quiet and are a prime spot for vacationing if you're looking for some peace and silence. This peace is sometimes interrupted by the on-off landslides that are common to this or any mountainous region. Back in 2003, the area was hit by a landslide so enormous and powerful it destroyed everything that came in its way. The reported damages included the destruction of about 75 houses, 3 kilometers of road, 2 bridges and a rural medical center. A witness describes the sound of the landslide as being similar to that made by a plane. He stated that when he ran outside, all he could see was a big black mass flowing down from the mountains. Fortunately, there were no casualties, but hundreds of people had to be relocated. These people were happy, though, that they were out of danger, and the Red Crescent Foundation was able to reach out and help them. Number 11. Bhutan Rocky Landslide. Mother Nature's rage is famous for being non-specific. It doesn't care who's getting in the way once its wrath has been triggered. Such an episode occurred in Bhutan, where multiple people were just standing on a road near a cliff, viewing the breathtaking scenery, when out of nowhere a huge piece of rock suddenly slid off the cliff and fell right on the road. Luckily, the bystanders had fast reflexes and managed to move out of the way before the rock could hit them and crushed their bones to pieces. This landslide is one of those rare but extremely fortunate events where people were standing in harm's way but managed to escape unharmed. If that wasn't lucky enough, there was a cameraman present at the scene who managed to capture the entire event in high quality, hence immortalizing it. Pretty rare, right? Number 10. Jade Mine Landslide of Myanmar. Myanmar is the world's largest jade resource, but its jade mines aren't as safe as you'd hope for them to be. While the workers were going about their daily work, performing their duty, something went wrong, when suddenly huge amounts of mud and rainwater ran down and overflooded the pit. The Minister of Social Affairs in Myanmar said in his statement that it came like a tsunami, and to make things worse, the day after it was followed by heavy rainfall. To everyone's surprise, hundreds of people arrived and gathered at the site to sift through the rubble in hopes of finding any jade stones. Most locals were miners, while some of them ended up getting stuck in the mud during their search for precious stones. But you can't blame them for neglecting their personal well-being and diving in the mud to get their hands on the jade stone, the trade of which is worth around $30 billion annually. If that wasn't enough motivation to dive in a sea of mud, we don't know what is. Number 9. Gadria debris flow in Italy. Italy is one place that does not need any introduction. We all know it's famous for the delicious pizza and pasta, and the incredible Leaning Tower of Pisa and much more. But there are a few things you still don't know about Italy, including the Gadria basin. Usually the flow in this basin is minimal, but one fine day in March 2013, things escalated pretty fast to everyone's surprise. The basin area is around 6.1 square feet big, which in theory doesn't sound huge, but once you see the video, you'll understand the significance of this small area much better. The debris that came flowing down at super speed was so much in quantity it could have easily wiped out anyone who stood in its way. Luckily for locals, no one was close enough to end up being prey to this landslide. In the video you can see how long it went on. All this mess occurred in the small time frame of just 20 minutes. The Department of Civil Protection had recorded and reported the events, and according to them, the amount of debris that washed over the basin was around 250 tons. Unbelievable, right? Just imagine if anyone had been there when it happened. We'd say there was a thin chance they would have survived. Number 8. The Gilgit Earthquake and Landslide. Gilgit is situated in northern Pakistan and has been a victim of many earthquakes over the years. But an exceptionally devastating one occurred in April 2016. Its magnitude was recorded to be a whopping 6.6. Now, a shock of this proportion was bound to cause multiple landslides in the region. But in Gilgit, it resulted in a rare phenomenon where chopped-up boulders were seen rushing down the hill like a river. The water mixed with rocks created an incredibly fast river of rocks. Now, for witnesses, it was a breathtaking sight, but with the speed of this massive landslide and the high rocks flowing with it, common sense required everyone to stay as far away from this as possible for the sake of their safety. Number 6. Landslide caused by earthquake in Nepal. If being on an old road near a cliff hundreds of feet above sea level seems scary to you, imagine what these people had to suffer when the earthquake hit them out of nowhere. This earthquake, with its jaw-dropping 7.8 magnitude, resulted in the formation of a deep and growing lake along with several landslides on the 25th of April. If that wasn't enough, the devastation caused by this one was followed by another earthquake just a few weeks later. The second earthquake had a magnitude of 7.3. It would be fair to say that year was pretty hard in Nepal, but fortunately the people you saw in the video were saved by a military helicopter. It must have been a terrifying experience to first see an earthquake bring down huge chunks of mountains, then having to fly over the wreckage hanging from a chopper. Number 5. Mandi district landslide of Himachal. One day the Chandigarh-Manali highway was packed with traffic and nobody knew why this was happening. All of a sudden, on a road that on normal days had smooth running traffic, here it was all blocked up. The blockage had been caused by an enormous landslide but seemed to have appeared from nowhere in particular. No rain nor hill was cutting activity had occurred recently. And that meant that this landslide happened completely out of the blue, with no other reason besides that it was nature's will. The police later informed the people stuck in traffic that it would take them at least a day to clear out the debris and get the road functional again. Surprisingly, this landslide resulted in 0 injuries or casualties. Later, it was theorized that the construction of the highway had led the surrounding mountains to become unstable. But weirdly, this was happening miles away from the actual location of the slide. Therefore, we have our doubts about the two being related. Number 4. Landslide in Norway. In your usual landslide, you'd expect the only moving things to be rocks, debris, mud, boulders and water that may or may not get mixed with them. But in the year 2020, Norway met with an unusual landslide when on the 3rd of June, this one-of-a-kind landslide took place. It caused around 800 yards of northern Norway's coastline to slide right into the sea. Crazy, right? Though it wasn't a violent event with much of a splash, the houses could be seen sliding slowly into the sea. A total of 8 houses were swept as this unique landslide took place. However, this could be regarded as one of the most benign landslides, as there were no injuries and the locals got enough time to evacuate the area before it literally sank in the sea like the Titanic. Number 3. Mountain disappears from Swiss Alps. Landslides are capable of moving long distances, at least a lot more than you'd assume. A similar thing happened in the Swiss Alps when a 243-acre foot of mountainside just vanished in the blink of an eye. For those watching from afar, it resembled a gigantic and majestic waterfall with a brown tinge you'd expect to be due to the mud. This, however, isn't a new occurrence in the Swiss Alps that are notorious for their random mudslides and landslides. That's why there are few local settlements and people usually prefer to go there for vacations. Nobody wants to stay in a place that could collapse suddenly for longer than a few weeks. The residents, however, are much more versed in the geography of the area and know better than to settle on the ground that can slide from under their feet at any time. Number 2. Mudslide in Italy. Italy has managed to bag 2 spots on this list with its Gadria basin debris flow and the mudslide we're about to discuss. Mudslides are slightly different from landslides, for when they occur they gain speed with time and tend to be extremely fast. The mudslide also accumulates much larger proportions of water-saturated rocks. The landslide you can see in the video happened about a decade ago, but the video is still around and keeps getting more and more views daily. Because of this slide, a village in southern Italy had to be fully evacuated, and its 200 residents had to leave their homes in a hurry to save their lives. And like all the other landslides we've discussed, this one also didn't result in any injuries or casualties. The police and firefighters arrived in time to ensure everyone was at a safe distance from the flowing mud and rocks. Number 1. The mega tsunami in Greenland caused by a landslide. Greenland isn't subject to a lot of bad weather and natural calamities. It's probably the most uncontroversial country in the world. That's why you won't see much about Greenland on international news. The only time we can recall seeing Greenland on the news was when this huge landslide caused the biggest tsunami the world had ever seen. This tsunami was recorded to be the tallest one ever recorded in human history. In 2017, it washed away a few houses that were in their way, but thankfully they were empty and no harm was done to the residents. We bet you guys enjoyed this visual account of all the massive landslides that are worth mentioning. Do tell us in the comments if you've come face to face with something like this. Make sure you subscribe to our channel for more astonishing content.